her loyal sons. We'll get 'em on the run, boys, we got 'em on the run. Yes, we are her loyal sons. We'll get 'em on the run, boys, we got 'em on the run.
Hey everyone, welcome back to HLS TV. It's been a while. I'm Molly Moran, here with Ryan Ritter. We hope you all had a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and we are here to talk about the bowl game. Our last show we covered the bowl game, but it was a couple weeks until the Music City Bowl then, and now it's just a couple days, so we can kind of talk about our feelings now and things like that. So Ryan, I know last time we talked, you were pretty confident, like the matchup. How are you feeling now that we're just 2 days away?
It's interesting. I try to take a look at the game and, I try to get LSU fans' pulse on it. They're in a strange spot, just like we are. It's a lot of looking forward to 2015 for them as well, and really it's a lot of internal focus on both these teams. It's almost like we're going to go play a spring game between the two of us and kind of see what shakes out. LSU on paper, and we'll get into it a little bit later in the show, they're much better on paper, I think, overall. But a lot of it really comes down to, what Everett Golson is going to show up, I really think. And I'm rocking a new Christmas gift, so we're changing the jersey up a little. The old number 9 maybe isn't working for 2014, so we'll see if this can change it a little bit.
There we go. Get some good vibes going.
Yeah, get some good vibes, get the Under Armour vibe going, protect this Music City Bowl house. Yeah, and that's really where I'm at. It's a hard matchup, I think, to predict. Bowl season's hard enough anyway. If you've been watching the games, crazy things happen in bowl season, and with both these teams, so I think internally focused on fixing their own issues, it's really hard to predict what they're going to throw out there. So how are you feeling right now?
I agree. I've been reading some articles before this, just trying to get a feel for what people are predicting and things like that. And I definitely agree on the internal focus for both programs. It's not that Notre Dame and LSU don't both want the win, but I think it's something about each fan base, each team is just interested to see if things can get worked out, because LSU had some quarterback problems, we have some quarterback problems. So I think this game is yeah, of course they want the win, but it's kind of let's see if some of these issues that we had are working out a little bit better.
Yeah, and LSU's quarterback problems it's a whole other different issue. I mean, they're still looking, and it's almost like they do this every year. It's like they're still looking for an answer at quarterback, and there's still some people that want to see their true freshman, Brandon Harris, actually get more snaps right now than what he's getting.
Yeah,
and there's been no news, at least that I could find, on what LSU is going to do. So any LSU blog or media or anything, it's just we'll see what happens. Notre Dame's quarterback issues are very different. We know Golson's got the talent. We've seen it, but now it's a double-edged sword. It's that he has obviously regressed this season and has a lot of turnover issues and looked worse and worse as the season went on. But that the good Golson's there, but on the other side, he's now having to bring good Golson out against one of the best pass defenses in the nation, which is very terrifying.
Very terrifying.
Yeah, and Malik Zaire, I mean, it's going to be fun to watch him play, especially against a really, really good SEC defense, because I really think it's going to be kind of a role player type role. I think he's going to be a big zone read option threat. I really think that's the bigger thing he'll be in there for, unless his passing game progressed from since we've seen it at Southern Cal. But that's kind of the way I feel it's all going to shake out right now.
Yeah. So I'm just I don't know, I guess I'm excited and kind of scared actually listening to you talk a little bit, but scared because you mentioned their running game, LSU's running game. So
yeah.
I think that's what I'm thinking about mostly, as I'm sure a lot of people are.
Yeah, and I guess now's a good time to go into this. We're going to try something a little bit different. So if you're listening to the podcast version of this, we're going to bring up a screen here. So I apologize when we start referencing this, but obviously if you're watching via YouTube, you can check this out on HLS on our YouTube channel. So we put together a quick little thing, kind of like a quick tale of the tape here to show, what we've been hinting at and what we've been hinting about, very, very basic, but I think it's important we get this outlook right now as far as it goes between LSU and Notre Dame, because LSU's very unfamiliar foe. Very few of us have probably paid attention, except for, the last couple weeks, obviously, since it's been announced. But the main thing we're looking at right now is that LSU's offense obviously is very one-sided. You know, they're 27th in the nation in rushing offense, getting 219 yards a game. And for an Irish rushing defense that is, as you see, they're ranked 61st in the nation, giving up 161 a game. And with the banged-up defense that's already mediocre, has already shown some problems, that's really one of the bigger things, you know, the matchups is that's how LSU is going to score. It's the only way they're going to score. So can Notre Dame be able to put enough defense together to hold it? So how do you feel right now with that? Is that the big matchup you're looking at too?
Yeah, for sure. Just because our defense is so banged up, and I mean, obviously LSU knows that, so why wouldn't you go, for that weakness there? So that's what I'm worried about, I think. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Crossed.
And obviously the other big thing to look at is that passing defense. Now, I did the total yards defense on this little stat sheet right here, giving up 162 passing yards a game, good for 4th in the nation. However, their passing efficiency defense, which compares the opposing quarterback rating, is where they're number 1 in the nation. So this is a very, very good passing defense, to say the least. And obviously our passing offense, and you see, I was actually shocked we were ranked this high at 16th in the nation, nearly 300 yards a game, 293 to be specific. So, again, and that's with all these turnover issues. I think that's the really big thing, is that even with the turnover issues, Notre Dame still is, that's an elite passing offense, and I was actually shocked to see that number. Now, granted, maybe a little bit backloaded with Rice and Michigan and Purdue and some of that kind of stuff, but still, that is, I mean, it's a stat, it's a fact, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, though, I mean, it was frustrating, obviously, because we did lose some really, games we shouldn't have lost. But I mean, I talked to my dad about it, and we played some of our worst games, and we still only lost by I don't know, a score or so. So it's frustrating because you shouldn't have lost them. But I do try to cling to that, well, we probably played our worst, and it's not like we got completely shut out or murdered or anything. So again, it's just those issues that if you can clean those up, that's the frustrating thing, is we know what we can do.
Yeah, and really the one game in which everything just went straight to hell is unfortunately the most recent memory that we have, and that is the blowout from, Southern Cal.
Right.
And that game was an absolute disaster. But I mean, if you watch, Nebraska's defense, it's not elite or great, but in that bowl game, I mean, they were having all kinds of issues holding it together. And what that game turned into, that kind of shootout, is I think what we thought, best case, well, maybe not best case scenario, but most likely scenario for that game. Best case scenario for the Irish was going to be that they managed to, and USC did the same thing that they've done all season long. They put together a strong first half, look completely dominant, and fall apart in the second half.
Yeah.
Now, Notre Dame never survived that first half punch. They never stayed within, a few scores of the game. So the game was basically over in the first quarter, and that's the most recent memory we have. But yeah, beyond that, they found a way to scrape back together. I mean, it's against teams that they never should have, like Northwestern. Never should have been that close. But yeah, that's the big thing. But LSU's a team, I mean, like USC, we can't do that. And this is a team, when you run the ball that much, you hold on to the ball like crazy, which is, this could drive a lot of Irish fans mad. But even if Notre Dame is not down, by like 2 or more scores, if they're down by say 10 points, the urgency is going to be a lot different, because the time that Notre Dame actually gets to have the ball is going to be so small. So I personally want to see a lot more rushing attack, more with not just Zaire, but more Bryant, more Folson, obviously. But if Notre Dame their defense can't get off the field, I really wonder if Kelly will say, whatever, we're just going to battle through it. We're going to play the ugly game that LSU tends to draw out of people, or is he going to say, no, I need to get these points now, because if I don't score and I take the risk and go 3 and out because I rushed the ball 3 times, and I missed 2 possessions like that, goes 3 and out or 6 and out. Now I'm in a hole, and maybe I can't get out of it. So it's a very, very I don't know. That's why I hate this matchup right now. The more I think about it, but I guess that's how
Yeah.
you know it's nearly game time.
Yeah, exactly. Before we were a couple weeks, we were like, "This is great, we got this." Now we're like, "Oh my god."
Like
Reality.
it's actually happening now. We
I
we
know.
can't avoid this.
Well, I would like to point out, I think I completely forgot about the USC game because I'm like, yeah, and then I was like, oh yeah, wait, you're right, that did happen. So again,
We're already
just
trying to
think
shut
about my
memories
memory.
out.
Yeah, oh, that's right, we did play them last, and it was horrible. So forgot about that. But no, I agree that I think we need to run the ball. Though we said that when we talked about this matchup initially, it just seems that that's going to make the most sense. But again, I can see where if we get in a little bit of a hole, you might kind of start running a little bit of a desperation type offense and maybe go to your comfort zone. Although I don't know that it's a comfort zone anymore with Golson, depending what Golson shows up. But
Yeah, but like we showed on that tail of the tape picture there, there's a reason we go to it. It is by far
exactly,
the
I mean,
best part of the
not
offense.
horrible. Yeah.
So that's that, and a lot of that I think has to do. It's not really so much an indictment on the backfield or even the quarterbacks running the ball, but the offensive line has been something that, especially interior power in that scheme, we haven't been as good as we should be.
Hmm.
And we lose Christian Lombard in this game, and we'll get
Yeah.
to injuries a little bit later. So now the question is, can we get the next man in? Can we get a step up? And is that going to be a regression? Are we going to see improvement? What's next? But we got to have some kind of power at the line. Otherwise, yeah, running the ball sounds like the best idea on paper, but
Exactly, but it
if
might
the
not
fifth,
be.
yeah, if the front seven's in the backfield, then running backs aren't going anywhere. I don't care how good Folson, Bryant, and Golson and
Right.
Sutler are.
I know everything sounds great when you're just talking about it, but you forget it actually has to be executed.
Yeah, that's that minor factor, and and it's so weird to say. Well, if only the execution was better. I mean, it sounds so cliche, but it's so frustrating at the same time because that's the game of freaking football. You got to
I
go
know.
out there and execute. So it's not so much if you don't go out and you don't execute, then maybe you're not that great of a football team. So that's really the concern is if we're having this much issues executing the basic things, does this then mean Notre Dame, was a lot worse than we thought this season, which could very well be a possibility. But I'm hoping, we see some kind of glimpse of hope here against LSU because, like we said at the first, this is a really, really good opponent to face off and test ourselves against.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a good win to have going into 2015. So,
Yes. But
geez.
we should talk a little bit more about our opponent. We mentioned the
Yeah.
rushing attack.
Mhm.
Now, I went in to check out the running backs because I knew they had multiple. I didn't realize, though, that they had four. So, and it's actually been called a four-headed monster for this rushing attack. I was like, okay, that sounds like, too many cooks in the kitchen here, but let's see what it looks like. But here's the four running backs. You got two freshmen and two seniors. Leonard Fournette is by far their leading rusher. It's not even close. The
Mhm.
most impressive thing that sticks out to me though is that three of those backs have 5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Oh man, and that's kind of terrifying, and that the entire backfield is averaging 5 yards a carry to begin with, and and these are their quarterbacks will run too. So this is only running back rushing yardage. That's the thing to
Right.
keep in mind here. We're omitting anything that the quarterbacks gained or lost via sacks, so their net totals are not in here. But that's two running backs over 500 yards. One that, if Notre Dame plays the same kind of rushing defense we've seen before, could very well eclipse 1,000 yards on the season. And
Mhm.
Fournette, um, and McGee, Hilliard, and Williams. I mean, I haven't. It's one of those things I've watched LSU play this season, but I haven't focused on it. So
Mhm.
it all kind of blends together of just what they're doing. I'm not really focused on who's got the ball in this particular situation, but that's an impressive spread that they've had. Obviously
Very
front loaded with
impressive.
Fournette, but to give, and especially considering Notre Dame's like, well, how do we get our three running backs going? Our attempts are nowhere close to this. You definitely have your feature back, and McGee and Hilliard both being within 20 carries of each other basically is
Mhm.
pretty impressive. And they're giving another freshman a chance, Darrell Williams, to get 61 touches throughout the season. So we very well could see all four of these people, going after Notre Dame in this game. So,
Great.
yeah, that's
Anxiety.
and the terrifying part is that as far as Notre Dame has been, the front seven's been banged up. Even though we get some people back, especially the interior rushing defense, much like on the opposite side of the line, it's been a big question mark. Notre Dame has looked vulnerable up the middle before, so.
Mm-hmm.
So you have basically four backs that get swapped out, get to stay fresh, and they're all very good. And you have a defense where you're like, please God, don't get hurt because we have nobody behind you.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's going to be huge that the defense isn't on the field every, other minute. They're going to need some time to get their wits about them, I think. Oh my gosh.
And obviously the other thing is like, well, what about turning this into a shootout? I don't think you could do that against LSU. I think their defense is too good to do that. Just take a look. The best example I could give is LSU when they played Alabama. If you have watched Alabama play, especially in the last month or so, ending the season, that offense run by Lane Kiffin of all people looks absolutely unstoppable. And LSU is the only one that seemed to be able to put Amari Cooper into check. I mean, that's a guy who, he wasn't going to win the Heisman this year, but he was a very deserving finalist. But that speaks to what they were able to do. They were able to contain that. They were able to make that game ugly. So, basically, we're almost relying on LSU to shoot themselves in the foot and be forced to pass. It's like playing a Navy team, but that's really, really good and probably physically superior to you. In the sense you're trying to knock them off schedule, you want to force them to pass, get out of their comfort zone. But the thing is, when the ball switches hands, LSU's putting out an elite caliber defense, and these aren't a bunch of little middies that you can go run over. So that's. Man, now I'm starting. I felt a little bit better before I started this episode. Now the more I'm talking about it.
Oh no! Great.
Oh man, this is a great idea. We should have stayed on holiday break.
I know. Now I'm like, oh man. Yeah. Gosh.
But how about we do some good news? How about we? I don't know if it's good news. Should we let's look at the injury situation for Notre Dame, because there are some updates. We are getting some people back, which is good.
Yeah, let's look at that.
Yeah. So right now, the big change here, and this is based, just so people know, we're recording this on a Sunday afternoon. So this is current as of what we could find. This is based on Kelly's comments, as well as anything else I could find on the web. So anybody listed as in has been listed by as probable or better. Kelly has specifically said that many of those people will play, but the big change in news are Christian Lombard now out. Some sources have said, and these are from the premium Notre Dame sites like Rivals, Irish Illustrated, they have said this could be career-ending for Christian Lombard, which is very, very disappointing. But the downside right now is obviously you lose an upperclassman presence on the line, a line that's already had some issues struggling. So hopefully, we're able to, plug in. I believe it's. I'm trying to remember. Is it McGilly, or I'm thinking of a wrestler McGillicuddy right now, so I'm probably getting it wrong.
Yeah.
I probably should have double checked before this, but yeah, that'll probably be the replacement there on that tackle side. So very young, very highly touted recruit. Hopefully, can get the extra power the Irish need. Austin Collinsworth is pseudo new to the list. Poor guy's been banged up like crazy.
I know.
Before we went on break, we talked about on HLS that his career is effectively over at Notre Dame. So he is out. Hopefully this gets better and gets back in one piece, because that poor guy.
I know.
It was one thing after another. And then, of course, Drew Tranquil, who had to come in, as a necessity. He wasn't expected to get much playing time. Then he goes down with a knee injury. He will still be out. Jaron Jones, especially against this LSU team, I really, really wish we had him back. But he had surgery on his foot some time ago. He is out. Joe Schmidt, same thing with his ankle. And then you have, some of the other ones we've known for a while. So not much has changed on that front there. But on the good news, we do have good news. And the good news is that Sheldon Day is back in, and probably he's been an absolutely fantastic performer all year on the line. Huge get back for Notre Dame.
Yes,
Right? Yeah, and Kelly, and even better, Kelly doesn't think he's going to be limited much at all. So I think he's back to full strength. He said similar. I think he said specifically maybe 60 snaps is what he was shooting for. So hopefully that's the case. That's pretty much normal rotation for him.
Yeah.
Cody Riggs, even though obviously we don't have a big passing threat with LSU, it's going to be good to have Riggs out on the exterior, and help with that outside contain as well. Because, that's going to be a big part of the running game as well, and that really can't be discounted. Same thing with Max Redfield coming back at safety. Safeties play a huge part in a rushing attack, so Redfield is really going to have to step up.
Yeah.
And, not just, coverages, it's really to take out and be that additional 8-man in the box to try to take out that run. And Jay Hayes, Kelly had mentioned it a couple different times that he expects him back, so I don't know what level he will be back. I don't know how many snaps he's going to get at this time, but considering we had to burn his red shirt and then he got hurt, just absolutely heartbreaking. So so he's going to get some playing time now coming back, which is great. So, and getting interior defensive lineman back is huge. Hopefully, Sheldon Day obviously is the big get. That's the huge one.
We'll get into that.
that was one we absolutely needed because we knew we weren't going to get Jaron Jones. So Sheldon Day being back up on the line, huge for the Irish. Hopefully that all works out well. So do you feel any better with some of these people back?
A little bit. I have to cling to something. I'm like, that'll do it.
Yeah. So it's not going to be a cure-all, but it's at least something. I definitely though wish, especially Joe Schmidt, really wish we could find a way to glue himself back together.
I know.
So it's hard for you. I know. Still.
It is hard.
Well, hey, think about the future. We could have a future because one thing I didn't mention on that list with Jarrett Grace, even though he is out definitely for the game, he is taking reps normally at practice now. So he is on track, thank God, to be back for 2015. So we could possibly get, Joe Schmidt had to fill in because Grace was out. Now Grace is coming back. So now all of a sudden you have two pretty good linebackers coming back in.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and on top of that, then you have Niles Morgan still getting tons of experience, and of course we still have the murder train Jalen Smith,
That's true.
who hopefully will still get better and better. Against USC, you could see him trying to take more of that quarterback type role on the defense. So I would expect that to stay the same. Need an absolutely huge game out of him. We need Manti Te'o type caliber. Make something happen. You got to be the big threat in there because that's the bottom line. If Notre Dame's going to win this game, the defense is going to have to basically punch above their weight class. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, agreed. And I think, they're going to have to – it can't, develop throughout the game. It's got to be there. It can't – I don't think they're going to have time to try to figure things out, They got to go out there and know what they're doing, know where the ball is, and, do their thing off the bat.
Right, because and one thing we have seen from this team is that even when things seem to spiral, during the game, like you said, as it develops, the problem with this team has always seemed to be is that when they respond so fast that it almost shoots themselves in the foot. Yeah. Because they score in under a minute, and this defense that is just gas is back out there again, and they can't hold them. And against
they'll shift momentum, and you're like, great, and then you're like, no, not great, because it's got to be this balance between the offense and the defense. The defense is like, no, we didn't even get a sip from the Gatorade bottle. Give us a break.
Right. Yeah, and that's the concern there. Now I don't know if that LSU will really be prone to giving up explosive plays like that. Anything can happen, obviously, but that's one thing I really want to see is that when Notre Dame, because they're going to give up, at least one long, brutal drive. When that happens, and I don't see any way where it doesn't happen. So when that happens, how does Notre Dame respond? Are they able to say, okay, we can do that too, drive all the way back down the field, get 7 points on the board, and then turn right back around at LSU, say, we can take it. Go ahead. That's the kind of game, it's very unlike when Notre Dame's played all season, but that's the only way I see it happening, because the only other result is that we pass all over LSU and we outscore them, and I just don't see that in the cards.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, again, I always say it because football is really mental, but we could just see in the other games like how defeated Notre Dame would get. And again, like you said, like when they give up a big play or something, they're just going to come back and they're just going to have to really be able to brush off and just be like, you know what, no big deal, we got this. I think they're just going to like be in the game the whole time and not get down, because Everett Golson especially just seemed really thrown. But I'm hoping that these weeks of practice have kind of helped them maybe put some things behind them. Maybe the USC game, maybe they forgot about that. I did, so.
Well, I hope they didn't forget about it, but I hope it drives
them. Not forget to improve, but
right.
See how they felt.
Yeah, but really, and hopefully this time off has been a time for everybody's mind to get reset, to get motivated. But really, we got to see what. Remember, after USC, Brian Kelly said this was a red letter day for the program. So in just a couple days, we're going to see, okay, that's what we said. That was great. That's exactly what needed to be said. Now, What the hell did we do to fix it? Because, I mean, this doesn't necessarily shoot us in the foot for 2015. The momentum obviously would help, but it's really more of this is the first time we're really going to get to see this team respond being absolutely beaten down. I mean, this is worse than the back-to-back maybe Tulsa losses. Which is kind of shocking. So this is probably the low point of the Brian Kelly era. And I think Notre Dame's also a victim to other things that are going on around them as well right now, with, Michigan making a big splash, probably hiring Harbaugh. It's all but done. You have, the playoffs going down, and you're seeing bowl matchups, which in general I think they've been a lot better paired. But you've seen Notre Dame opponents do, for the most part, pretty decent in bowl games. But you've also seen things like UNC struggle against Rutgers, of all teams. And you're like, wait a second, I thought UNC was a lot better than that. What the hell's going on with this Rutgers game? And you still see USC going crazy, and your mind obviously shifts to 2015, and when that team likely gets even better. Although I don't know if Sarkisian at this point has figured out how to close the game out, because if Nebraska decides to kick a field goal instead of going for it on fourth down, maybe they go to overtime and lose. So who knows? But when you see all this go down, you have so much time to think about the disasters that have happened.
Yeah,
it's really easy to get down on the entire situation. So. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I think that's honestly like why I don't even necessarily want a win in this game as much as I just want to see Notre Dame be able to. I mean, I of course want them to win, but I'm just saying, even if they lost but we're in it the whole time, I honestly wouldn't be too disappointed just considering the season we had. I just really, really want to see them at least look like they know what's going on. That's like the point I'm at right now.
Well, see, I'm not quite there. I mean, I will still be disappointed with the loss. I know the chances probably aren't that great.
I mean, I'll be disappointed too, because I'm sure right now I'm just down because I guess I haven't even really thought about it, and we're doing this whole episode. I'm sure like tomorrow I'm going to be like, we're going to win, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me is I don't want to set my bar to a point to where I say, you know what, just go out there, guys, and
right, no, I'm not quite there yet. Yeah, I think there's possibility, but I'm just saying at the end of the day, if they weren't able to win, but they were able to really be in it, I wouldn't be completely down and like, wanting to jump ship or anything. I do expect them to win at this point, though.
Yeah.
Not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing for me is, I mean, they got to come out. They need to try to win this game.
For sure.
Because I don't want the chicken wing eating competition that they had be the only victory they take back against LSU. Wait, take that.
I mean, they're already competitive.
Yeah, and I'm disappointed. Come on, LSU, how do you lose a chicken wing eating competition, man? You're giving the South a bad name now.
I know. I saw that. I was like, what in the world? So yeah,
Yes.
that's good though. One victory down. Next one on the field.
Yeah,
We'll
I do
see.
not know what the Music Bowl eating competition stats are in relation to the game. I did not look that one
That'd be
up.
interesting. That could be a good omen.
If somebody actually keeps track of that, that's all kinds of hilarious, but that would be entertaining to say the least. But yeah, I guess at this point we might as well just say we've talked about this. We've been all over the map. Now, granted, a lot of news can come down tomorrow that may make us change
Yeah.
our minds. But should we prediction this thing?
Sure. You can start.
Okay. Well, the first thing I will say is despite my misgiving, what's the right word for it? My trepidation with this
There you go.
rushing attack facing the Notre Dame defense and how it looks like a mismatch. I just have this feeling that this whole 7.5 point spread, at least last time I checked, that's what it was,
Mhm.
is too high for an LSU team that still has issues. Being able to they get in their own way too much, and the big thing for them is that if they fall, I was shocked to find out that they were one of the worst teams in third down conversions. And when you have a good rushing attack, that's almost shocking. But basically,
Yeah.
if you stop them on second down, and it better be third and short, otherwise, if they have to pass, it's a tire fire. So
Good
because
point.
of that, because I think Notre Dame can maybe dig in and get to a bend and don't break point, I
Mhm.
think they can manage to stay in this. I think it'll be close. And I'd never like picking against Notre Dame because I'm stupidly optimistic. But this game's going to be ugly. It's going to be frustrating, and I'm crossing my fingers that Notre Dame pulls this out like with a last-minute field goal, or it'll be overtime or something.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I see this win happening. So if I'm going
Yeah.
to pick Notre Dame to win, even though I probably shouldn't, I will admit I'm being too optimistic here probably. But I would go something with, and I think they have to score more than 20 points in this, so I'll go with, and I'm going to predict multiple field goals. This is scary. So we'll go with 23 to 20. How about that? Multiple field goals on
Sounds
both
good.
sides.
It's kind of close to what I was gonna say. I was thinking it was gonna be like a 3 point game. I was thinking it was gonna be pretty close. I'm not sure on the score, but I'm picking Notre Dame. I know I'm kind of all over the place sometimes, but I gotta go with Notre Dame because
Yeah,
that's what I want to happen. And if I pick them, that's like me sending my positive vibes out there.
yeah, and like I said, I'm shaking up. This will be the game day attire. The number 9. It's going to go.
If we find out that it was you the whole season, that was messing us up.
Then I shouldn't have waited until Christmas to get Under Armour gear, and I may have to rock the Shamrock Series uniform more often.
You see, there's a lot at stake here. It's also next year's the 2015 attire, game day attire.
Yeah, I know, and I've been in a pretty constant stretch for. Heck, since I graduated. So I mean, that number 9 has been holding me on for a long time. So I don't know why I stuck with it. There was only one season where it worked. So go me in superstitions because that made sense. Maybe I'll just have to change it up on every game day. I got to find the right momentum or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm blaming you, and I'm just kidding.
That's fine. You can blame Tex, fire Tex. They still haven't won since I've had the radio show, so it's still a fact. They have not won since I've had the radio show.
Well, maybe we can break that streak.
Yes, it would be nice because I would like to go on the air and not be, depressed about having to have that segment every week. Like, yeah, well, we lost again. Yeah, but I guess my final thoughts is, in general, bowl games are always all over the map. You've seen unexpected results already. We'll probably see some more unexpected results tomorrow. In the other bowl games that obviously Notre Dame has no rooting interest in, really. But with the way both these teams are kind of looking to the inside, I also think that kind of leads to where this game might be a little bit closer because I think even though Les Miles might be the worst clock manager of all time, he's still a good coach. And Brian Kelly, I think, is still a very good coach. So I think that both these guys can correct some of the mistakes that have plagued them in the season, and you will see an improved product from both sides, most likely. If I gave a coaching edge, though, honestly, I would take Kelly because I think especially, I mean, throughout the season, let's think back to when we were all riding high on an undefeated streak. We were doing this, by the skin of our teeth with people we never expected to play. So now Kelly has time to give those guys more reps and more work. So hopefully that translates on the field. Hopefully we're being optimistic for the right reasons, and we get to come back after the game and have a happy show leading into the off season.
That'd be fantastic. So yes, go Irish.
Go Irish, beat Tigers.
Tigers. Sounds good.
Since we are alone.